froze up from there to Rangeville. And that's gonna cause issues.
Okay. We're off mute. We're in executive session. It is 4:39, and in the room we have Commissioners Rector, Gates, and Moyer. We also have Roy Gilbert and Dave Morlan. So, we are recording. Okay.
And I think the other side of this, guys, we probably ought to put us a little bit of a mediator here. And Commissioner Gates, I'm gonna make a motion that we make that you.
Okay.
Through this process.
And honestly, I really see, and I may be wrong, I may see it different, but I see this more as just a meeting for us to tell Dave and Roy what our game plan is.
But if we get off in the weeds, that is.
Yeah. Because I don't think we want to get off in the weeds. And correct me, I'll give the spiel if you want me to, and correct me if I don't get it the way we're all thinking. But we clearly have a shit show going that has got to stop, period. So what we've talked about doing and the way to proceed is, it appears to us as though a lot of the issue is just staff stirring the pot. And we're going to stop it now. So we would like to meet in Rangeley Tuesday when we're down there with the Road and Bridge staff, in Meeker, not sure when, soon, to convey this message. And that message is simple. Anybody that badmouths their colleague within Road and Bridge will be fired on the spot. And that goes from the bottom to the top. Period. No questions asked. And I know there's details that have to be worked out, the verification, all that, but we're not ready to answer right now, but that's the general deal. If Dave's caught bad-mouthing, that's different than managing his people. But if it's bad-mouthing Roy or anybody else, he will be terminated on the spot. If Roy is caught bad-mouthing Dave, he'll be terminated on the spot. If Dave Sanford, Ronnie, Jimmy Mays is caught bad, he'll be terminated. They all need to know that. This bullshit going around is done. We are starting fresh. This is all behind us. We are starting fresh. Did I get that?
Yeah.
Clear?
The other thing I think we need to do, guys, a little bit before we get to that point, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I really think we need to talk about what got us to here, because we've already made that decision once, and we have failed at it. HR's failed, this board has failed at that. We've already been down this road, and it, to that extent, that hadn't happened. So I think we need to discuss what's led us to this event, to today, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, so we're all clear of where we move forward from here, so that when the five of us leave this room, there's no gray there. There's absolutely no gray. This is where we're all on that same page. So I think that needs to be part of this conversation as well.
Do you want me to run through my thoughts on it?
Yeah.
And I've said this, I think, to both of you with the same message, is that the way I see it, Gary Moyer's perspective, is this was a fairly simple deal to start with. Roy was reprimanded verbally for violating some things that, as I thought in the report, said policy. 3 things. In doing so, he felt that Dave had gone overboard, was created a hostile work environment, if I'm not mistaken, that was the correct. So he used the right that he had to file a complaint. Our HR did an investigation. In my opinion, what should have taken 3 days took a month and a half. It gave time for all this shit to do this. All kinds of issues came up because of that. It was pretty simple. We got the report. We said, yeah, Dave also violated policy because he by the language he used, not words we haven't heard before.
Correct.
It maybe wasn't as strong as bad as what Roy thought it was, but it was a violation of policy. Roy violated policy, Dave violated policy. Okay. Everybody, Roy's been verbally reprimanded, Dave gets reprimanded by us, let's move on. We're done with this. And it's just shitstormed out. So, my opinion is that's the background of how this got, from my perspective. It was really pretty simple. It wasn't that big a deal. We got to put all that behind us and move forward with a clean slate. And what we've learned is, through visiting with you guys, is that there's a whole lot of other players out there just stirring this frickin' pot. So that's why we're going to deal with it by putting them all on notice. Okay, any bad mouthing that is done, whoever's doing the bad mouthing will be terminated. Period. No question asked. So that we get put a stop to it.
And
That's how
I agree with that, yes, to a point, but I also think there's enough bad blood between you two that somehow we got to figure out how this gets resolved a little bit between you two, or this is never going to get fixed.
Right.
And we got to address that as well, because if we're just doing this motion again,
yeah.
There's absolutely no reason.
Can't just be a repeat performance.
There's no sense in us doing this again.
Because I said it the other day, I'll say it again. This is either going to work or probably both of you will end up without a job at some point. And correct me if you don't agree, but Ty has been strong on emphasizing that the way to move forward is make sure everybody is really clear on the chain of command and follow chain of command, period. And I agree completely.
And we're all a team, and we're not operating as a team. And just for the record, I am just catching up. As you both know, I'm
Right.
playing catch up, so.
Yes, sir.
But I think Jeff has a good point on let's try to fix this bad blood. I know that Jeff made an effort by asking Todd to try to play mediator with you guys. He thought he got that kind of done. Well, then turns out apparently not. So we don't want that. That better not happen again. I'll tell you that. And that's part of why we're saying, look, we need these other players out of this son of a bitch that are stirring the pot.
Dave, how do you feel about that?
First, before I get into my spiel,
And by the way, on the record, I just want, for the record, I want everybody to know that Dave Morlan's recording this on his personal cell phone as well, as we are recording it through our county website.
so Tuesday, you said Tuesday, Bob?
Well, Tuesday in Rangeley, because we're going to be down there anyway.
Right. So is that's the same meeting me and you were talking about, that you wanted to address it and I was gonna go?
No, this is a different one. This kind of depends on how this outcome comes, to where we go from there. This is something that these guys kind of came up with after that
After we've talked about
we need to go down and just talk to staff on both ends, in Rangeley and Meeker both, and say, look, guys, this is the chain of command. This is how this works. No more of me calling Dave Morlan saying, hey, I don't agree with what Jimmy's doing, or Thad's doing, or Dave Sanford. That can't happen anymore. It has to go through the chain of command. And I think until we make this very solid and get everybody on that page, but that's probably gonna have, where that goes will probably depend on the outcome of this meeting today, would be my guess.
Okay.
I think that it might be helpful to have HR draw up a chart that shows that chain of command very clearly. To show all your guys that, and, you know, for example, Dave Sanford answers to Roy. Not to Dave, to Roy. And then we talk about, okay, if you don't get satisfaction here, then you move up, but you go there first. And it cannot just be a call saying, hey, I'm calling Morlan. Can't be that. It's gotta be, Roy's gotta be the boss. Dave's gotta be the boss over Roy. And that respect, called being professional, guys. Just be professional about your job. You don't have to love each other. Everybody's got history. But be professional, do your job, show respect to each other. That's my take. And I'll shut up. Because I want this to work. I think I said that to both of you. But it's not working.
So on the other, Bob, you're saying anybody says anything, fired on the spot immediately. Do you think that is, that's for the last, since August, that's the problem. I mean, if he said, she said, would that be how would a guy trace that down?
Well, let us have time to work that out.
With all of that,
we're not gonna fix that right here in this meeting, Dave. They need to understand that they'll be terminated.
I totally understand, or get it.
Yeah.
And Dave, let me answer that. I think that's gonna be a pretty easy thing I think Laura will go do her job as HR. She'll go and do an investigation in that. And this deal of, well, I know I didn't say that, or yes, I did, those days are gone. We kicked this can down the road far enough. It's time to get ahead of it. And,
we gotta know that your staff takes this seriously. Because if they don't, it's not gonna work.
All of them.
All of them. Including you guys.
Yes, sir.
So Tuesday morning, you're gonna be, board will be there at their
It's our
7:30
normal
meeting?
commissioner meeting in Rangeley.
board will meet with Road and Bridge down in Rangeley, just to have a conversation with them, and basically all it's gonna be about is a chain of
We
command.
just said. Yeah.
Okay, but will it be at 7:30?
No,
Probably not. I doubt if you guys will be
I
there.
don't know what time our schedule, we start down there.
9 o'clock.
In a work session?
Usually 9 o'clock is when those,
It just depends on what's on the
Yeah.
schedule. So can we let you know on that? I haven't we haven't received it yet as to what work sessions are all scheduled.
yeah, just let me know, 'cause I can have my guys in early or
If
they're,
we have to do it in the early afternoon, I have to leave and be back to Meeker by 4 8 to do that on it. I got a property closing at 4 o'clock that,
So you can make that work from all your guys that are way out in Timbuktu?
well, that's what I need to know, because my guys are trimming trees for a long, what's that?
the earlier the better, it sounds to me.
If we could do it first thing in the morning would be perfect, 'cause them guys they're 35 miles from town trimming trees, so.
Yeah, but you can't, after you're saying you can't, you probably won't be there by
Let me
7:30.
go ask Scott.
We can if we need
I
to.
can find out really quick, 'cause that's posted, 'cause it got.
Yeah, why don't you check that, and then we're not guessing. I mean, are you good if we have to leave here at 6:30 to get our asses down?
Oh, yeah.
Just don't go out.
I've been down there
Don't go out and drink
6:30
tequila the night
to
before.
do training, so yeah, I'm
Yeah.
good.
I know.
Let's leave here at
That's
5.
just-
You just have to get him coffee and buy him breakfast.
Yeah,
That's it.
That's all it
He's
takes.
okay.
I'm not
High
crazy.
price date.
He is. He's terrible.
As long as you don't go out with him the night before.
Right.
Tequila.
I didn't cause that, you fuckers.
You were doing good till you pushed out at the end.
Look who's talking.
Ten 10:30, guys. So
Not till
anytime,
10:30.
anytime prior to 10:30. Or let's say anytime prior to 9:30.
Yeah, well, we were talking about we could be down there at 7:30, so it doesn't fuck their day up.
It would be the best for us, because if you get done with your thing at 1:30, I could have my guys there, but then it pushes, you could still make it back here by 4, but
And I don't see
it'd
it
push your
taking over
time.
30 minutes, but that's.
Yeah,
Shouldn't take 10.
Right. So 7:30 it is, we'll be down there, if that works for you guys.
Tuesday morning.
Long ways for me to drive.
Yeah, right.
It's quick for us.
400 for us.
400 for you guys. No, it's 850. It's 850 miles.
850.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's the only way I see this working.
Anyway, Jeffrey, you want my opinion?
Yep.
Ever since the chain of command thing came up the other day, it's like bingo, bingo. That's where we're all drifting apart.
Drifting.
So, in my opinion, I just wrote down some bullet points. And I got this from a good friend of ours named Doug Brucker, who he said, a lot of times shit is really maybe it's all happened to y'all. you'll be sleeping and wake up and have these thoughts, and then you just think, oh, bingo, fucking bingo. I'll do that. So then you go back to sleep, and the next morning you can never remember. Proctor always told me, he says, you know, Morlan, get up and write those down. And I've started doing that. Well, last night it happened to me. So I got up, I wrote all these flipping bullets down. Now I'm trying to understand them. Anyway, and I think this is, I really, from the bottom of my heart, think this is what's happening, and we're on trail. So we've touched on chain of command, and I think we need to hit that reset button that was mentioned in one of these meetings that we've had somewhere along the line. And if we all take a look back, for all of us here sitting in this flipping room, I really think that everybody in here has failed our system. We've all had a hand in it. We look back and see every little thing we've done there. We can say, I think everybody would say, I could have done better of these events that have happened.
Yes, hindsight's
I
20/20.
think we all agreed that.
Exactly. So, and we said that. I really think we've all could have handled this thing a lot better. Gary, you mentioned some of them a while ago. Time frame, boom. I really think when something like this happens, you go to the source. And that's where it eliminate all of this he said, she said bullshit. You go to the source right then. So all of the whatever the incident is, it's right there fresh in your memory. We aren't waiting 4.5 weeks and trying to figure out.
A lot of that, and that's our fault, because we are the ones ultimately responsible that this HR thing has drug on and drug on and drug on. And that ultimately we can blame HR, but it's on us. We own that one.
Well, and that's what I mean by everybody in this room, Gary. I think we're talking HR, we're talking all of us. If we all be honest and look back, we all are guilty of not communicating.
And we have to do it within the confines of HR and labor law.
Sure, but it
still
still could have been shortened up, and we're always pointing fingers. This is a prime example. Everybody is pointing fingers at somebody else. In this goddamn world today where, I mean, so much hate and discontent, it's never me. It's always you. Everybody's pointing their flipping finger. It's always somebody else. And I think going forward, you know, if we want to beat this thing again, I mean, I didn't think we needed to. If we need to, maybe we do need to clear some stuff, you know, where this thing started. But going forward, we got to hit that damn reset button. We do. We all need to be responsible for our own flipping actions. I mean, no matter what it is. And I want to make that point for me included. And I also thought about this all morning. You know, every one of us have a role in this goddamn game. The constituents are paying each one of us a different role. They oversee every one of these roles. I mean, for an instance, I'm over you. You're over your crew. These guys are over me. The constituents are over you. Yep. We all want to be the boss. That's the problem. We all want to be the big bag boss. But that's how this whole thing works. I mean, we all have 6,000 constituents. This is the chain of command we're talking about. You guys are next in line, then me, then him, then our crew. But if we all hit that reset button, we manage our people. Me and Roy's level now, we manage our people. That's where we need to nip that bullshit in the bud. I think there's a lot more, sounds like there's a lot more of that going on than I'm aware of, the way it sounds.
Yes, sir.
But we also have to be responsible for our actions too. And I'm going to bring this, maybe this is where we go back. I still think, as a supervisor, if you take an ass whipping, you know, that's where you two work it out, rather than not say anything to your boss and you go on up above the train. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. If you feel that I mistreated you, then I think, Roy, that's where you say, you know, Dave, goddamn, buddy, you know, you admit it, I didn't say any of that stuff, right? But here's where you can say,
let's not get into that level of detail.
Okay.
Let's move forward from here, because I don't know that it's going to be that. the he said, she said.
Well, I'm trying to stay away from that, Gary. I mean, wherever we go, that's what he told me. After the fact, and then it all blew up again, but I'm thinking of that, Roy, if I made you feel bad, that's when I would hope you say, God damn, Dave, you know, shit, you made me feel bad, man. You know, could you have done this? I think that's where me and you go from there, you know. I'm sorry, I'm going back, but if that's what started the damn thing, we do have to touch on it.
I think we do need to, we need to get that out there. Here, I really do. I think we beat
I do
around
too,
this bush a little bit, and I
too.
really, in my opinion, I think we need to air some of this stuff.
Because I assured Roy this was not gonna be a shit show.
Well,
So let's not.
Well, and that's exactly what, I still wanna move on.
We don't wanna make it a shit show,
I've tried, and I
but
wanna move on.
I truly think unless we address some of those issues, we're probably not gonna move forward.
Yeah. Okay. Can I inject something here? This was a deal that I went through a number of years ago in a leadership class that was called Crucial Conversations, and it reminds me so much of what's going on here. And I probably won't capture this very well, but what I remember out of that is we all have a tendency to tell ourselves a story. And we start believing the story we're telling ourselves, rather than making sure that we get the straight story. And we walk into a conversation pissed off because we've told ourselves a story. We've made a ton of assumptions about this that oftentimes may or may not be correct. So we got to get back to that. Let's quit believing the story we're telling ourselves and strictly stick to the facts.
I think that's happened a lot in this.
Yeah, a lot. That's my point.
So, I mean, while we're right there, that's where this shit started. Do you agree with me?
Most of it. I'll let you finish, and then I'll talk after you.
Okay, yeah. So, I just feel the constituents aren't getting what they're paying us to do. We're stepping out of our lanes. That's where we go back to the good old command system, chain of command system, and I think if we hit that reset button and stick with what we're supposed to be doing, I really think it'll work. Just like the first year you was a supervisor down there, we had no problems at all.
No.
Everything went great. We just do our flipping job. And there again, we cannot move forward without accepting responsibility. And again, you have to go to the source when the damn thing comes up.
Just treat each other professionally. All the way
That's all I got.
down the chain.
Well, you gotta be professional.
Yeah.
We're being paid to be professional.
Yeah.
That's all I got, gang. That's
Okay, cool.
my point of view of moving forward.
And I'm hearing you say that you are 100% committed to doing that.
I told you the other night, Gary, and I'll stick by that, but again, I'll say it again.
I just need a yes.
Yes,
Okay.
but if it don't, you don't even have to fire me.
Yeah, I know.
I
But I think everybody needs to
We
be
don't
clear,
need
if it
that.
doesn't work.
You guys don't need to spend this amount of time. This is
No.
bullshit.
Shit.
This is bullshit.
You got it.
I don't have much.
Okay.
I don't wanna elaborate on anything a little bit. Dave called me one night. He came down the whole deal. I told you the whole story. He came down to Missouri Creek's Crack. I did not have a flagger at my station. I do know that. I have fessed up to that. There's a whole lot of inconsistency with stuff that I did in Meeker.
Mm-hmm.
I go to Rangeley, I try to do the same thing, and I get kicked for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We'll elaborate with the Traco. I'm going to start right there because that's got me worked up just a little bit. The Traco, I've moved it 4 miles. Yes, I admit it. I have no doubt about it. I worked with Ty, I've worked with Kyle Frary, I've worked with Matt Dupree. I can't tell you how many miles I walked that Traco reclaiming fires. Miles. So, in my mind, I never doubted it for a minute. when he asked me about it, I never honestly doubted it. I didn't think it was an issue. To this day, I still don't think it was an issue. Just because of the stuff I've done here. There was an incident on Ripple Creek. A culvert mudslid. The tracker was on this side of Ripple Creek at the 41-mile marker. The mudslide was over Ripple Creek and down a couple corners. I was told to walk the tracker from there all the way up over the hill and down to the culvert. Inconsistencies where I'm at with that deal. I've been in it. I've done it. I never thought it was a bad thing. I get that. I'm not going to elaborate on my personal trailer. I learned a lesson from that. I will never do it again. Hard lesson learned. I learned from it. Trying to just save money, and it wasn't worth the hassle that it put Dave Morlan and I. I don't like the confrontation that there is between me and him. Dave Morlan and I have been friends since I was as tall as this table. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do I hate Dave Morlan? Absolutely not. Never in my heart do I have a hate for Dave Morlan. There is a lot of he said, she said shit that comes back to me, and it comes from my lead operator. You can ask Dave. I've called him twice about him talking shit about me to people. One instance, he told me about it, and I had no clue about it. He says, well, why ain't you nipped it in the butt? Dave, I don't know about it. He's like, well, it's because you're the last one to know when you're the one being talked about. There is a lot of that, and it's here nor there. That is a killer for us with this whole deal when...
Wait, you lost me, really.
On the...
Can you explain that?
Nope, you're okay. On the Sanford talking badly about me to everybody else, and it got back to you, and I didn't know nothing about it. And then in a mag session, he wouldn't listen to me on the motor grader. He was arguing, being I don't know, I ain't gonna say the words that I would want to say, but so I called you and asked you to come down and help me with it. Remember that? Because I got in the pickup road with you, him and Dale were in the Blade. We followed Sanford for a long time. He got plumb pissed off and said, well, I guess I've been running the motor grader all wrong for 15 years. Then we left there.
Oh, yeah, when we're back.
Yep, that's correct, yep.
Yeah, and then when I tried to explain to him, he got pissed off.
Yep, you're right.
So I handled it, right?
Yep, you did. And that's what I'm saying. That was the first situation, he handled it. So then we went and talked to Dale. Dale got upset. But it was a simple, Dale wasn't nothing about me. We were just trying to critique Dale and he got upset. That was the same day. Then a little while later, I can't even remember, I don't even know dates. Sanford called, no, Jesus. Morlan called me and said, hey, he's like, what's all this? I hear that Sanford's talking shit about you to all your guys. I was like, Dave, I don't know nothing about it. He's like, well, you need to nip it. I said, how do I nip it in the butt? I don't know what to say to him. How do I prove it? He came down to my office, and we put Sanford and me and you in my office. Remember that conversation? And Morlan gave him a chewing, and he didn't cuss at him, didn't yell at him. He just laid it down. This is how it's going to be. It worked for a couple of months. Right now, to this day, it is 10 times worse than it's ever been from that guy. He talks shit about me to everybody. He talks about Morlan to me, and I know he talks about me to Morlan. I don't know, but this is what I've been told. He talks about me to Morlan, picks up the phone, calls Morlan on everything I do. The other day I made a statement that I wanted 23 cut down. He's like, well, Morlan's the effing boss, and that's what I'm doing. I was like, I want it cut down. I talked to Morlan. We're cutting it down to a ½ inch. I said, we're getting complaints. Well, he needs to fucking call me if he has a problem. I said, no, he don't. He needs to call me, and I handle it. I got this thing, and with all this stuff going on with Dave, I have a hard time talking to Dave right now until this is all behind me, because I don't want confrontation. I'm over the confrontation. I'm done. I'm ready to move forward. I wanted to move forward with the last meeting we had. And then it comes back that David talked about me and Meeker. That's hard for me to swallow. I don't want that. I wanted to move forward from that day, and it didn't happen. So here we are back here again. I'm 100% committed to moving forward until Employee of the Year comes up, and I'm called a liar. I'm not okay with that. I passed all my votes around to my guys. They wrote down names. It came down the tie to me, Arlen Peck, and Kerry Torno. 3 people. So I wrote everybody's name down, passed it around again, and it came back to me with a vote ahead. So Dave called me and said that he had 4 people call him from Rangeley and said that I can't remember the word he used, something with the votes. I did something with the votes or whatever. I'm like, okay. He says, did you do it the way we've always done? I said, no, because it isn't fair. So we talked about it. He said, use a paper, have them write 3 names down. I said, well, if they write 3 names down, it ain't fair. Because they can write the same name 3 times and it ain't fair for the same vote. He's like, well, if they write 3 names down, the same name, that's 1 vote. And I agreed to that. That's correct. So I passed the paper around, and it came back to exactly the same thing, exact same vote. There was 1 more difference the second time around. I want trust. I don't like being a liar, and I'm not. I don't want to be a liar. I got told, and take it with a grain of salt, when you went down to Roxy's for New Year's, Roxy come to me and told me that you had told her that I lied about the votes and you wanted her to do it, that you didn't believe, that you didn't trust me. And that's he said, she said stuff. I did not. I just take it with a grain of salt if that's what she said, and that's why I want to talk about it right now, because I haven't had the chance to talk about that. So that's the last thing I want aired. The rest of the stuff, I'm over that. The Sanford stuff, I've had a gut full of that shit a year ago, and it's hard to get rid of it. And half the time I don't know about it, because if you're the person being talked about, you're the last one to know about it. So that's my heartache right now is on the second time around, I didn't even want my name in the employee of the year because I didn't want drama. I didn't want the freaking crap. But I wanted to prove a point that I didn't lie. I didn't sabotage nothing. And it came out exactly the same. So I don't want Dave, because he is my boss, I don't want him thinking that I'm a freaking liar, he can't trust me. I need that. I need that from him to be able to trust me. Because if he don't trust me, it won't be fixed. Does that make sense where I'm at with that?
Well, guys, that's why I think we've got to start fresh. Put all that behind us and say we're starting fresh. Any hard feelings, you don't have to love each other, but you got to treat each other professionally.
Right.
And Gary, I completely agree, but some of these issues, we really need to air them out.
Yeah.
They need to get aired out.
And they need to,
And this is
I
good.
think they need to talk.
This is good.
Like, I think Dave needs to explain what his side of that, in my opinion, I mean.
That's why I want to bring that, because I want to hear your side, because I don't know if that's true or not. I would hope it's not true, but I hope not.
You hope. Which is not true?
That you didn't tell Roxy that.
If you believe my wife too, I'll sit here and tell you exactly what I said.
Dave, I've always believed you.
You know, and I'm glad we can talk about it, Roy. No, to answer your question, no. I took Roxy down a care package and topic came up, because I guess we're gonna throw her name in, and this shit stays in the room, she's one of them. So now it sounds like we got one person playing both sides. So she's one that had a problem with the way you did it. So let's keep that in here, right? Now we're gonna throw names around. And that was one of the 4. So that's when I called you and said, okay, I got the 4th person, Roy, did you do it like I said? Just like you explained it. That is the fairest way, Roy. You did ask me the 3 names. Yeah, we got smart asses up here that do the same thing. And it's like, well, come on, gang. Some of these guys take this shit serious. If you don't want to play the game and you think it's bullshit, don't even vote then. Or put one name down. If you think the rest of them are crap, then put one name. But it's the only fair way there is to do it. Believe me, we've done this for 23 years. The problem, and like I told you, everybody's got a buddy, so they're gonna write the buddy's name down.
That's exactly
And
right.
then, in the back of their mind, they have somebody that, man, this kid's really stepped up. That's when they put that guy's name down. And then they just throw another name in. So the guy that's in everybody's back of their mind usually gets it. That's all I said to you, let's just try it this way, do it, boom, it turned out, Roy, good job, congratulations. I don't know where you're saying liar on that. I mean, nothing came from this side.
It was,
Wherever you're
you didn't,
saying.
it ain't that you called me a liar, it's just, it made me made me feel like you think I'm a liar. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
I'm-
You said you don't like being called a liar. That's where we have to be careful in communication.
Okay, so you're right. So for Dave to call me,
Part of
you're
the story I'm telling myself.
a liar,
Exactly.
do you know what I'm saying?
Both people's part, yeah.
But that's where it, like, I'm like, God damn, he thinks I'm a liar. He don't trust me. So, of course, to be fair, I was instantly pissed.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, here we are again. So then I take it, and we do the thing, and it came out the same. So it made me feel better, but then it made me feel like crap. Because then he has to find out the exact same thing, which I don't know how it made you feel, but I just want you to know that I didn't lie about that crap at all. I just want you to know that.
Well, and it's good to bring this up, Roy, and I'm glad you're letting us talk about it. Now back to the Sanford thing. Dave doesn't call me as much as he's been accused of, and me and Jeff were struggling with this too. There's a couple other guys in there that the way I'm taking, Jeff doesn't know who they are, but it doesn't matter. That's where we have to nip this shit in the bud that these guys are talking about. Mm-hmm. But it does not happen near as much as you're thinking it is. That's where your conscience and you're assuming otherwise, I would nip the shit in the bud. It's just like the example you gave to these guys about Sanford. You called me, you are the boss down there. You call me, I go down there, I straighten the shit out. And I don't give a fuck who it is. Me and Sanford aren't as close as everybody thinks we are. But there's other guys down there that are doing probably more than Sanford. But then when you talk to them, I'm going to think, I mean,
That's exactly.
Jeff
And that's
could go
why
in
we
there
are including
and
everybody.
he could say something too, trying to do this. They're going to tell the commissioner shit, because then they don't want the repercussions from you.
Right.
And that's why I always preach to you, you nip this shit in the bud. You don't play favorites, you don't do this, you don't do that, because if you don't, they aren't going to respect you, and then you have a shitstorm.
Yes.
Like you did with Dave that day. That was fucking awesome. Okay, we talked about Roxy. The example you said a while ago where Dave's arguing with you, don't put up with that shit. This is my advice to you. Roy, I've been trying to bring you along for fucking ever. I feel like you kicked me in the teeth through all of this shit. But back to that, that's when you handle that situation the best you can. If you don't get the satisfaction, then you use the chain of command to me. If I can't handle it, then I go to HR, and then HR, then if it's that goddamn bad, then we go to these guys. But let me say this, on the other hand, and I think that's where this is my personal opinion now, that's when you slacked off a little bit and didn't go through that chain of command and use your authority and start drifting off. That's what got yourself in trouble.
Yes, sir. You're right. Because of all the stuff going on, you're right. I didn't go to you on it.
But with your job, your responsibilities, believe me, you can't go down that road. I mean, and it's human nature to go down that road, get caught in the weeds. We don't have time for that shit. And that's why my chain of command is your lead man. If they have a bitch, they can go to Sanford. That's your lead man. If Sanford can't solve it to your likings, if Sanford can't satisfy them, that's when they go to you. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of your time dealing with that petty shit. You get more than 3 guys in a room, you run a big-ass crew, you're always going to get this shit. That's where it needs to be nipped. And if Sanford can't handle that, then we need to do something there. But when he starts doing the shit that you just said he's doing, that's your job, to nip that shit in the butt. If it doesn't work, boom, Dave, got a problem. Dave comes down, just like we used to.
Right.
Well, and Dave, if I can just hold you up for just a second, I think this is where we've all failed at this, where you just said. Because you've made the comment several times through this thing that they all feel like that Roy's got me in his back pocket, so he's got a saving grace as a commissioner. You felt that way. So what happens, my personal opinion, I've never done that down there, ever, not once. But if that's that perception, then but there again, that's part of this deal that in that wrongdoing, and I'll accept responsibility for that. But I think that's where that came from. So to go back to that a little bit, I think that's kind of where it got us to where we're at today, is because of some of those actions that I feel like that Roy probably doesn't feel like that he can stand up and come to you because of the shit stirring that's going on behind the scenes between you and Dave Sanford and the rest of his crew. So there again, that chain of command has failed again. So, like I say, we beat that to death, but at least we understand where that all came to pass.
We gotta learn from our mistakes.
And I think we would all agree with that. I'm not pointing my finger at anybody, but I really think that's what's helped us get to where we're at a little bit today.
And I think all of this has been a great learning experience for everybody. But I also got to say, I don't see anything wrong with Jeff going down to have a cup of coffee with your guys. And if that shit gets stirred again, you know, then that's where the communication needs to happen. And like, no, that's not what Jeff said. Jeff just came down and he was talking shit and drinking a cup of coffee, and that was that. And
thank you, Ty.
so if you guys have that communication, then it never escalates up. It ends at that level.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was wanting to add, is that, Roy, if I'm up here drinking tequila, which probably won't ever fucking happen again.
Tonight. Never say
never.
Morlan.
We said we're all gonna quit lying, boy.
I'm not. Tequila. Tequila's not my friend. I learned that. I had 2 drinks and a shot. But anyway, this is recorded. I'm sorry. That doesn't mean that I'm in Morlan's hip pocket.
Right.
Same story. If I go down there and bullshit with the guys in the shop, or if Jeff does, or if Ty does, this is a small community, folks. We got lots of friends.
Yeah.
We need to have the ability to feel like we can go and visit with anybody, because honestly, Jeff's brought this up a number of times. We're stuck between, if someone calls us, if Dave Stanford, I don't know the guy, wouldn't know him if he walked in the door. If he calls me tonight, we're stuck with, wait a minute, you're violating chain of command. We're kind of on this balancing act of, we can't talk employee issues, but as a constituent, he has every right in the world to want to talk to us. So that can create that impression that we're talking stuff, and we've got to be professional enough to separate that, and not talk employee issues. Talk to you as you're a constituent, and we try to do that. I really think we do. It gets blurred sometimes, but then everybody goes out there and they start telling themselves the story, and they start believing it, that, that must be what the problem was. No. But we've got to be able to walk in that shop down there, and I want to be able to bullshit with Roxy or Roy or anybody else, or the same fucking story up here. If I go have breakfast with Morlan, I don't need Roy mad at me because he's afraid that, or anybody else.
People,
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Dave, sorry I got us in the weeds there a little bit. I just wanted to clean that up just a touch, just so that we're all kind of on the.
No, and I totally agree. I mean, we for the first year we had something going, and then I mean all this, but that's where we as supervisors, you as commissioners need to, because it is a small community, that's where we need to be more, I don't know what the big fancy word is, that's where we need to be more sensitive of staying in our lane and doing what he just said. I mean, Jeff, you used to go down there all the time. I thought that was great. That crew down there thought that was great. They think that you give a shit and you show up. Just your presence of walking in the flipping door. Just like the other day when you showed up for the
safety.
for the safety thing. I mean, they think that's awesome when you guys show up for that kind of shit. That's where we need to get. And
Yeah.
I really think, like I said in my earlier spiel, but but I think Roy, I mean, from what I'm hearing you saying, I mean, Semper doesn't call me that, and neither do these other guys. But that's where maybe it'll help of you nipping that shit in the bud, and that's where you call me.
And then on the flip side of that, if they do call you, you say, nope, if you follow the chain of command, you go to Roy with that.
But see, that's what we did till this busted loose.
Yeah. Right.
Then it was like, no, that ain't happening.
Dave, you need to know that as a general rule, if you're doing your job, we're gonna support you. And you need to know that Dave's gonna support you if you're doing your job. And you know whether you're doing your job, huh?
Right.
It should just be that simple.
And it is that simple, Gary.
And that's gotta go right on down that line, and that's why that whole crew, it sounds to me like, needs to be put on notice that if there's any of this, you just lost your job.
And I don't think it, by the whole crew, the entire road and bridge, I think is.
Where do you think that should stop?
No. I do believe
it's everybody.
I agree.
Because the way I took that is it was like his crew.
No.
It's like the entire road and bridge.
It's everybody in road and bridge.
Office staff and everybody else. Does it have to be?
Well, it's still, we need to go to the source, Gary. That's where I'm afraid, because there's so much of this right now is just because you got to go to the source. Because if we go by this nitpicky, you said, man, okay, you're done. We got to be careful on that one.
I know,
Yeah.
but they've got to understand that it can cost
They
them their
do need
job
to
too.
understand that, and hopefully, but then if we do our jobs, I think it's going to quit.
Exactly.
Back to where we were, where Rector can go in there and not everybody flocks him, and you're telling on me, and I mean, that shit is.
And see, Dave, that's never happened down there. And all the times I've went in that building, I've never had anybody come to me and just, like, bend my ear about Roy's doing this, or Morlan's doing that. The only person that ever even kind of stepped that line was Dale Files. And I think it was last fall, guys, late last summer, last fall. He got in trouble for running his blade about something. And I went in, and Dale was sitting there, and he was all sheepish, and I said, Dale, how are you today? And he's like, well, not very good. Of course, I'm like, oh, what's wrong, brother? Oh, I got, but.
Was that when I jumped him?
Dave, I'd lie to you if I told you, Roy, I don't know, because I didn't ask a lot of questions.
It would have to be, because I haven't got after him
I
for his
just,
blade.
but there again, I don't feel like that's my position.
Right.
To go, it's not.
Right.
And I'm not gonna overstep, I never have.
And I agree with you, Jeff, you never have.
Mm-hmm.
You never have, but back to this thing on the Traco and Dale Files, I mean, you guys gotta allow me to do my job too.
Mm-hmm.
If I see Dale Files cutting the goddamn crown out of the road, I should be able to say something. And the more I think about that, because it's come up in this stuff, it's like, man, you were there. Did we don't need to go there. I got two other guys that I forgot to leave in there. It's like, wow, if that's an ass chewing, I'll take one of them any day. I'll take 5 of them a day.
Right.
But you still gotta let me do my job.
Well, and you gotta let Roy do his job and Jimmy do his job and all that. There is that chain of command.
That's true.
But we understand that.
Right, but then when I jumped you on that phone that night, here's the problem. You say I said this, and I say, no, I didn't. I still need to, I never even wrote you up, Roy. If I thought it was that big of a goddamn deal, I'd have wrote you up, that plus a whole bunch of other stuff. This is where I feel I'm trying to bring you along. These guys obviously don't think it's a big deal. I thought it was a big deal. When you say, and if you want to talk about track hose, the track 115 that you've told people that, well, Morlan had me rode the goddamn track hose for 3 miles, what's the big deal there? The difference there is you were digging about every 100 feet. It wasn't like you were high tram running 3 miles. What you did on 27, you were in high tram running 4 miles. We had 15 big-ass places you were cutting out up there, right?
No,
No.
no.
Okay, fill me in.
You're right. We did have holes in a lot of spots.
15.
Correct. After the pavement. The tracker was above Buckshot's, in the wide spot above Buckshot's house. And it started sinking in a different spot, clear down by Reddy, the very first hole. And Daryl sent me up there to get the Traco. So I get the Traco and I said, you want me to run it down through the edge of the bar ditch, follow the fence? He's like, nope, bring it down the pavement. Okay, so I'm easing it down the pavement in low gear. Pretty soon the radio goes, where you at? I said, almost to Mobley's. He says, Morlan says, get your ass in high gear and get it here. Over the radio. Okay, so I stick her in high gear and rattle her down the highway all the way to that first spot. That's where I'm at with that. That would beat the piss out of that Traco on pavement. That's here nor there. So that's where I'm at with that one.
I don't remember saying that. I'm not on the job. That's where my supervisor was on the job. I would have said, why don't you start where it's at and start digging towards us? If that was the end of it, why would you have the Traco up there and have your road clear down to the other end?
Cause see, like going forward, that'd be a prime example. Granted, you weren't a supervisor there, or then, but for you to say, hey, you know, this is my
behavior.
Yeah, this is what I've done in the past. Like, what are your thoughts? And then that's...
Why don't I start digging here? You know, that's where you do need to speak up.
But maybe, you know, maybe Daryl just said, you know, Morlan said, get your ass here, and Morlan didn't say that. I mean, I don't know.
When I got there, Dave was not there. So I never doubted an eye. You know what I mean? This is just what was said on the radio, so whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. I mean, but that's where I'm at. I've done stuff, you know what I mean?
So your reference isn't 100% consistent with what is policy at times, and you guys just need to try to get on the same page as you need to go along. This sounds to me like
That's exactly it, Gary, and, you know...
Rather than get mad later.
Just like the Sanford thing, you know, Roy, buck up and, you know...
But I think those expectations need to be set, like what is Roy's authority to do to Sanford, like as far as disciplinary actions? And this is a learning curve for me, because I don't know. I guess I'm asking more so
I don't know what I have either.
So that's important to get defined.
Because every time that I've had trouble, I just call you, because it's easier to call you.
Right, but that's where I keep trying to teach you, Roy, and I've told you many times, if you have a problem and you want to write somebody up, you think a warrant or something's done for a warrant to write up, write his ass up. If you don't feel comfortable, call me. I always say, call me. Call me, and then you tell me, and then I'll say, yeah, write his ass up. I've told you that 3 or 4 times that you didn't write up.
You're right. You have told me, write him up. And I haven't.
But here's where...
Well, you guys got to get on the same page.
Yeah, we do. And here's
so that Roy has confidence that you're going to back him up.
Well,
and if he did something you didn't agree with, that needs to be between you and Roy later. But to the crew, you got to back him up. That's
with this whole thing lately, Jeff said it better than I could have said it, but I wasn't comfortable calling Dave with the confrontation that we had.
We can't function that way.
Well, that's where I was at. Because I didn't want to have him think I'm tattletelling on Sanford to make me look better. That wasn't what I wanted. And then you have all that hearsay shit, well, about Sanford's talking all this to Morlan and he's calling him about everything you do. Well then, I try to put all that by the wayside, that it's whatever. But then when Sanford made the comment the other day, well, this is what Morlan wants and this is what I'm doing, I'm like, oh, here we go. Because I remember, then I called you.
Even after all of this shit, Roy, that's where you need to just, Dave did, say. That probably come from when you were gone and Sanford was there leading a bunch. That's who did. There is some stuff, I don't know, whatever what he told me I said.
Right.
I probably did say that because you were gone. But still, if we all go back to the basics, figure and hit that reset button, I think we'll be fine. I do want to bring one thing up, and this is where I've preached to you a million times, Roy. You know, as a supervisor, we don't like confrontations, and I hope you understand that. I mean, none of us like confrontations, but when something, I wanna bring this Mike Hayes thing up. You know, he called me, he told me and screaming, evidently called you, and you
Called me screaming.
I hope you didn't say, I can't do anything about it because Morlan and Sanford are buddies. That's exactly what Mike told me.
I didn't say that. I said, you need to call Morlan because I can't get Sanford to listen to me because he's calling Morlan about everything. That was word for word what I said in my case.
Okay, whatever it is, what I would like you to do then, as a supervisor, you handle it. Don't push it down the line. I would say in that situation, even if you just said that, okay, Mike, I'll get out, I'll see what I can do. Don't push it down. There again, it's this shit.
Okay.
That's where you as a supervisor
Yeah.
need to take.
Where that's gonna fix that is that's gonna, trust issue between you and you.
Yep.
Is gonna fix that problem pretty damn quick.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's going on right now, just like I told you the other day, Sanford is doing a freaking piss poor job.
And
And he's doing it because he knows he can poke his buttons.
and I swear to God, he's doing it to get me in trouble. Because everything, and I would like for you one day to go and talk to every one of my crews and ask how much that guy argues with me on everything I say.
And I do know that, Roy, but that's what I keep telling you. Deal with it. If you can't deal with him and he gets to that point, then that's my job.
Okay.
But what I'm saying, just like in the Mike Hayes thing, you still got to do your job. And if you get uncomfortable, you try to that's where I do have to do my job. Then, if I can't handle it and I don't get it fixed, that's where I go to these guys. But I'm just saying, whatever Mike said, I still feel, own up to it. You're the supervisor. If you don't, that's where you're going to lose respect from him, the Mike Hayeses of the world. You're going to lose respect from your guys, too. And through all of the hearsay bullshit, I really think that's where you've lost a lot of your respect. This is just my opinion, guys, from all of this backstabbing bullshit, even though it's not coming to me as much as it is. A little bit more since all this is blown up. But like you mentioned a while ago, you had a problem with Sanford and you called me and I go down there and
But how long ago was that?
A long time, it was.
So we gotta reference this in the right time.
Since all this, I mean, I don't know, it all started clear back with the coat deal. Ever since that day, it's escalated from.
We gotta get that behind us, man.
And that's where we're at.
And Roy needs to have confidence that you're gonna support him, is what I kind of am hearing. And Dave's telling you, Roy, you've got that authority.
He's gonna give you the confidence to do that.
Absolutely. That's what I think I'm
That's
hearing.
exactly that's what I'm saying, that somewhere along the way Roy gets caught up in the hubbub to where we all need to stick with the chain of command. And believe me, it works. It works. And we need to get back where that first year you were here. And Roy, believe me, I will tell you that, believe me, right now, I don't play that game of, otherwise this is what's gonna happen. And then we're taking up these guys' time, and I would hate to even count the fucking hours.
We put a lot of hours in this deal.
Well, we put a lot of hours in it, we put a lot of not sleeping, we put a lot of stress, and again, at this point, I don't need this shit. You guys don't need this shit. You guys got so much more shit, you shouldn't even fucking be here. But that's where we do have to have the trust. You have to have the trust of me of handling my job. And it's an open door policy. This is the chain of command, just like our in-house chain of command. If I'm not doing what you're not comfortable with I'm doing and handling your situation, the door's open to go to these guys. But you gotta give me the chance first.
And you've gotta make Roy feel confident that you're truly there to help him. And I think starting fresh with all this other noise being made it really clear you fuckers are gonna lose your job if this doesn't stop now, is a huge opportunity to do that. I mean, you gotta make Roy confident that you're gonna support him and that you are truly got his best interests at heart, and vice versa. Vice versa. That's my take on it.
Right.
And I'm really pleased. I think it sounds to me like both of you guys are saying, let's make this fucking work.
Well, and to step back just a little bit, but here's where I look at this. I've lived down there my whole life, except 17 years. And I told you this the other day. I'm seeing shit get done down there that I've never seen get done. We got better county roads than this last summer. They stayed together better than they ever have since I've been down there. So I'm looking at a young man that I'm thinking trying to do is a pretty good job on the ground. It's probably gonna be here for several more years. Here's a guy that's probably gonna retire pretty quick. So how do we get you two together? And I think that's been my struggle with this deal from day one. If this would have been an oil field decision last September, I'd have made a decision. I'd have made one and said, I'm done. But I don't wanna do that. I truly want to make sure, and Dave, you made a good comment, we're trying to do the best we can for our constituents. And I think Roy did not want to come up here today and have this. I think he felt like he was gonna get blindsided, and I sat him down and I told him, I said, Roy, I am not gonna pressure you. Here's the deal, I would like to air some of these issues out. We need to get them out in the open. The five of us need to have that conversation. You need to have your take, Roy needs to have his take. We need to hear it from both sides, figure out, it'll help both of you two to build that trust issue on down the road. Is how I perceived this morning. I truly think that we probably got farther today than we have through any of this thus far.
And I want to say one thing to both of you guys, and don't take this the wrong way. What I don't want to hear from either one of you is, yeah, I'm agreeable to this, but there's one more thing I got to tell you about that guy. I don't want to hear that again from either one. We're starting fresh. Let's go from here. And we're on the same team. That makes sense.
Best way to look at that is like when you drive your vehicle, you're never looking backwards because you're gonna wreck.
Yeah.
So that's the same as this. You've got to look forward.
Because we have to go forward.
I look in the rearview mirror a lot.
Do you?
Well, that's because there's fucking flashing lights back there all the time.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Yep.
But really, guys, I think, and guys, I apologize if this ever got to this point.
Yeah.
And I'll take ownership of that we failed you guys as this board. But our ultimate goal here is try to let you guys finish this out as an equitable way.
Absolutely. Both of you.
That's really where my heart was at in this whole deal. You know, like the other day when you made that comment that your attorney said that I wanted you fired. Dave, that could be that statement could, now, did I come to that a couple weeks ago when I was so fed up to it? Yeah, I was there and I owned that. But to that point, I was like, man, we have worked overtime on this deal to try to get this thing resolved. And we just never got there, and I think maybe this we should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah.
Probably is what should have happened.
Exactly, Jeff. It's just a sad deal, you know?
Well,
Goddamn.
are we good moving forward, both you guys?
I wanna move forward with it. I didn't until I had my talk with you.
Yesterday.
And I'll apologize for my conversation yesterday.
You were done.
I was done. I said stuff that, oh man.
Well, I'm gonna be honest.
But I didn't realize until I talked to you and Ty about all the chicken shit talk behind my back with the Sanford and now with the Roxy thing. I didn't know that.
Well, guys, I really encourage you
the
guys
thing
to start fresh with both those guys.
That's where
Well, you can't go down there with a heart on for her now.
No, exactly.
Absolutely not. Won't do it. When I leave this door, I'm 100%.
No retaliation. But they all need to know that there can't be any of this backbiting shit or their job's done.
I mean, you guys have both been on fires and seen how that works.
Yep.
And yeah, you're gonna have some people that are insubordinate, but they just get kicked off the island. They're done. Like, they'll get sent home. But you also have seen how well it works. And how many people can accomplish one goal, you know, by using the command structure? And that's all this is. It's really no different. We're all part of a big team trying to accomplish one common goal. And that's ultimately how it is.
I saw that system work, and I'm impressed with that system. And it's like I said before, you're always gonna have those, if you get more than three people in a room that have to work together, that shit starts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I have this in-house system of the chain of command, just like the big boys with you guys, is you're always gonna have that. I see it more here than down there, but still, it's like I always told you. They can go to Sanford and bitch all they want. Sanford brings it to you. If they don't feel comfortable with what Sanford says, then they go to you. It will help you. Believe me, it will help a lot of that shit. Believe it or not, it will. It will help. Because you as a district supervisor, you don't have time or room for that, or you better not. You know, you don't. Just like these guys with us.
So let me throw this out there, because I just had a thought. As far as this, when we say bad mouthing, that they'll be terminated, I guess what I have in my mind is having operational discussions is one thing.
Correct.
Personally bad mouthing someone is what we're talking about. Is that fair enough?
Well, yeah, they can't say, well, you know, get dirty, why'd you load them signs in the back of that truck that way, or.
Because you're a stupid
mother. Shoveled in there, and you stupid bastard.
Yeah.
That does not work.
But if you
truly,
disagree about how this
issue,
operational deal, that's understandable. There's a chain of command. You can have those discussions. You're not bad mouthing each other.
Right.
So there is a difference, and we understand that. So.
you know, the deal with Dave Sanford, where I told Dave then that if I was gonna fire somebody, it'd be Dave Sanford. I'll never mend that fence with Dave Sanford, and I'm okay with that. 'Cause I just am. But that fence will never be mended with me, but I really don't care.
But are we all on the same page?
But I think we can move forward from here. I really do.
If we keep hitting that reset button when we get into little jams, you stay with the.
Stick to the facts.
You gotta go to the source.
And communicate.
Communicate.
Get the facts, and don't believe that story you wanna tell yourself.
Don't let it do this.
And if you feel like he's restricting you from doing something, or a new idea, or whatever it might be, have that conversation with him. Just say, hey, look, you know, I wanna try this because A, B, and C, or I did it because A, B, and C, and then you guys can have that dialogue back and forth, and then
But once he's made a decision as your
That's
boss.
where it kinda started with me telling him, like, you do your thing down there. You do your thing down there. If there's anything out of the ordinary, let me know. And that kind of stuff is out of the ordinary, and that's what I expect. I'm always open for new ideas. Hey, let's try this. But I still need to know.
Yeah, I'm just using that as an example.
You're right,
But that's exactly what I mean too, Ty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's clear back to the fucking code.
Yeah.
Well,
And let's not make mountains out of molehills.
Guys, for us as old dogs, I'll be honest, sometimes that newest guy on the crew comes up with the best idea.
That's a
And
fact.
sometimes we get so blinded
Yep.
that we can't see that.
That's a fact, Jeffrey, but that's what I mean by anything out of the ordinary. And the reason behind that is so I don't get blindsided from the constituents and blindsided from you. Being the director, I need to know that. Sure, let's try it. Or, I already tried that. This is what happened.
You don't like surprises.
I don't like surprises.
We don't like surprises.
I like
You love it, yeah.
You know, but I really think that will work, and then, you know, which led into more shit with me and you, Jeff, is, you know, then you bring up the gravel and all the other stuff, but that's where me and you need to work on that, and.
Well, and Dave, there's been a lot of questions I've had through this since I've been a commissioner. There've been a lot of things, but I just never did that.
Need to be able to have that conversation.
You know, and here again, I should be able to question Dave Morlan and say, Dave, I don't agree with that. We should be able to agree to disagree.
I love that.
That doesn't mean I think any less of you,
Right,
but I should
right.
go.
Don't feel like you're being attacked when we don't always
I
agree with you.
don't, but
We do that.
and I don't feel like I'm being attacked. That's your job to question me.
Mhm.
But I'm just asking, then bring it up right then, man.
Sometimes we don't think that fast. Come
You know
on.
what happened, Dave?
I would agree with that,
Yeah.
cause there's a lot of shit
We
going
got a
on.
lot of,
We have, this thing has got so escalated through this deal that right, wrong, or indifferent, it wasn't correct, but, and
I just don't want.
I've got aggravated more in the last year than I probably have in the last 50, 60.
tell you, this last year's commission not been fun.
Well, that's why I wanna keep road and bridge petty bullshit out of it, cause I know you
Absolutely.
guys do, and
We
that
got-
was my goal from day one. I handle this shit, I handle that shit, I don't, you guys don't need, I don't even want you hearing from me. And when I present stuff, if you have a question, you know, bring it up then. If you don't, you're slow as Moyer, then you think about it, then bring it up to me later on.
Cause he's
That was
short.
that was it.
That ain't the problem.
So I guess one thing do you have any questions on the expectations from Dave? As far as, you know, what can't you do, what do you, don't you need to do?
There's not a lot of questions, I don't know a lot. Does that make sense? Like, Dave's 100% right. The first year, I called him a lot,
And that's fine.
because I didn't know a lot. You know what I mean? I asked a lot of questions on a lot of stuff, and then I got comfortable. I quit calling Dave on a lot of stuff, and then I didn't want him thinking that not that I hated him, you know what I mean? That I didn't want him to think I wasn't calling him and hiding anything from him either. I didn't want to hide anything from him.
Just remember, guys,
I
we're
just-
the same team.
There's just, because I've been doing the calling every day thing, that, I'm not gonna lie, that drives me freaking crazy.
Yeah, but Roy, if you're doing your thing, and I'm not there all the time. I mean,
Right.
in the field, I'm in a meeting. I appreciate you leaving that message. At least I know what you're doing that day, what you did that day, what you're doing the next day.
Okay,
That's where we did lose communication.
we did,
It is a pain in the ass, but that's what's gonna keep our communication.
yes,
And
it
I'm
is.
not always there, like I said, but I listen to all of your messages.
You told me that, and
So Dave sees value in that.
yeah. Okay, good.
And maybe even that'd be a better thing in the morning, guys.
The only thing, well, we start different time than he does, so.
8:30 in the morning or something?
Well, why we don't do that, Jeff, is they should know what they're already gonna do by that night when he calls me. That way he tells me what happened that day. If there's any issues, then I know about it. Plus, he already knows what's happening the next day, what he's gonna do, unless something drastically changes. But there again,
This is a 5-minute.
we're human.
I'm
You
just
see
trying to
something,
suggest that you gotta
something
adjust that a
different.
little bit so that you two can both communicate each other, that you pick a time frame out that, okay, you're probably gonna be around the phone and
We pick the time, it's in the afternoons right before I leave, because he's always in the office. Jimmy and Thad are checking in, I call in. It works the best in the afternoon for us.
Okay.
Plus, I can let him know what happens that day and what's going on
And if there's an issue that took place that day.
that day, yeah.
So it's fresh.
But, and I do wanna say to wrap this thing up too, Roy, you know me, and I mean, this F-bomb and shit, come on, man.
Don't take it personally.
We all do that F-bomb. and
Right.
I don't.
You gotta admit, you're just as bad as I am.
You're right, and
Just as
that's
bad.
where I'm,
All of us.
right. In the heat of the moment, I don't care if anybody says the F word, I don't care if they, whatever. But at the time, I was mad, and I don't know, it
Since we're on that
escalated.
topic, let me share you what I take away from this. Dave, what I take away from this is that Roy looks up to you a lot,
Sure do.
over time, a long time. So when you are harsh on him, he takes that pretty serious.
Oh, it's
And
bad.
maybe those harsh words
It was,
mean more than they were intended, maybe.
and he was probably just talking, because, he was pissed, there's no doubt. And he used the F word, and you burned my red ass, that's fine. But at the time, I felt like, holy shit, you know, I was offended. Dave Sanford sitting there, as soon as I got done, he's like, that mother effer needs turned in, blah, blah, blah. Well, then that only escalated me worse, you know what I mean? So that's where it went. I mean, it's the whole, at the time, I was pissed. And when it was all said and done, I was like, yep, we could have handled that different. At the time, I didn't want to handle it different. Right now, sitting in this chair, sure as hell could have been handled different. At the time, I didn't care, because I was pissed.
Well, and
He was
sometimes
pissed, Sanford was pissed,
before you
Sleep on it.
that's where I didn't do. I didn't sleep on it. I didn't think about it.
Can I make a suggestion based on what I'm hearing?
I was proactive.
Tell me if I'm full of shit.
or reactive instead of
My
proactive.
experience is don't ever seriously chew anybody's ass, and especially in front of their subordinate. Or their subordinate. Don't ever do that privately. Meaning if Sanford was there and heard that, that's not okay. Do it privately.
Well,
Does that make sense?
We were just sitting
yeah,
there.
no, Sanford was on the job too, Gary.
Yeah.
And Sanford's supposed to be there for a couple of reasons. For that, number one, that reason, and Sanford's the lead man. That's why I want both him and this lead man in these meetings that we have at the end of the day.
Okay, I mean, I don't know your protocol.
But
I just know
it's
for me
more that.
personally, you gotta
Sanford-
deal with it.
Sanford's the lead man. Sanford was on there. Sanford is just as guilty for not having all of the above too. So he does need to hear that, right?
Yes, sir. I agree.
Well, but is that Roy's job to share that with him? And I'm just speculating.
And I don't know that, you know, I mean, that's kind of a gray area.
No, I have them there.
Let's figure that
so all
chain of
parties
command
can
out.
hear it. And that's why I have them both there, is so all parties can hear it. That lead man should be part of your decisions on what to do, and it gives you another set of eyes. I mean, that's my whole philosophy, is having that other set of eyes there. That's why I want that lead man there in both districts. When you discuss your next, tomorrow, well, I think about this and blah, blah, blah.
But I think
That isn't, over on that, let me bring that up. One of Sanford's problems is he's the lead man, not Jerry.
Right.
Is that an issue?
No, that's not an issue. He thinks it is because Jerry and them are trimming trees, and Sanford's running his blade. So I tell Jerry what to do in the day, I don't tell Sanford. And it pisses him off because I don't tell Sanford, and then Sanford tells Jerry. We're sitting there in the meetings, Sanford is a lead man, but he is a blade hand. He has a route to take care of. So if I'm telling him all this, he don't hear what he has to do in the day. So to shortcut it, I tell the crew that's trimming trees, this is what you're doing. Or if we're building fence, I tell the fence crew, this is what we're doing.
And
Am I wrong in that?
No,
Okay.
but let me make a suggestion if that's the problem. Me and Jeff had this discussion a couple of weeks ago too. I would make a suggestion on that case, then, I mean, Sanford needs to know that, and you need to explain him. That's why you two need to discuss what you're doing the next day.
I have explained that to him.
Okay, we'll try that again.
Many
and don't
times,
worry,
but he
we go
just-
back to the chain of command.
Okay.
But what you may do, that is to get this cross-training, both districts, neither district are getting the cross-training that I'm wanting. So what I would do there is I would have, okay, Jerry, go, or whoever next in line, run blade. You know, me and Dave discussed this, go take blade and run Dave's route and do this. Then Sanford can lead that crew. But that's the discussion. You two need to have that night before.
Then he can go be the lead guy of that crew a couple days a week.
Right. And we're getting that guy, he's a lead man, okay, Jerry, go with, or whoever, go with Dave, he'll show you what he wants to do, and then he's gonna leave you alone. Then he's gonna go run the crew. Then it gives that guy, so he's not sitting there watching him, okay, goddamn, up, down, over. You know, leave him, give him stick time, but that's how I've always handled that, if that would help you.
That does help me because that ain't what I do. I've always done it is he's a blade hand, and I use him as a lead operator when I need him. Because he has a huge route, without a doubt. So he has to run that route. I have had Jerry Blank, every one of my guys have been in a blade, every last one of them. Because we've been slow. It's a perfect time to cross-train.
Sure.
I called you the other day about, I was cross-training Tommy, because Dale was on vacation, he's the next one for a blade. I rode around with Tommy, Dale was gone. I have had every one of my guys in a blade. Every last one of them can run it.
I'll tell you that.
Not good, but they're learning.
But they need stick time, bro.
Correct, yes.
Is if you get that guy that's on the crew that actually steps up to the pump and becomes a blade hand, it'll make Sanford toe the line. Because after a little bit, when that guy's blading his route better than he does, he'll be like, yeah. And you'll find, within that crew, somewhere within that group of guys.
You'll find a guy that steps
That
up.
guy, and he may not be in this group, but somewhere that guy's there.
But you gotta give him that chance. But that's what I'm saying, I mean, even though but you just said not of them are very good, but it takes stick time to get in the blade. Not everybody can get in the blade and run.
No,
But I mean, that's where you're gonna get that guy, it's like, whew, okay, damn, we got a little hand here. But yet maybe that'll stimulate Sanford. I mean, I always put myself in that other guy's shoes. Probably you're right. That's where Sanford gets bent out of shape because he's on this long ass route. Well, that's a good thing then. Look at it as a good thing.
right.
That's more grading that your other guys can do. Even though it is that's put those guys in there. It's like, okay, Dave, you want to run this crew today, you know, or is there something you really need to do that you want to do on your route? I mean, that's how you work those things.
Okay, I've never, ever done that.
But that's what I'm for, Roy. I mean, that's why I keep saying call, and then we went off into the weeds, but that's where we're staying.
You're right.
Hit the reset button.
Guys, we're making progress.
Let's get right back to where we're at. But I'm gonna go back to Monday while we're on this.
Okay.
I told you to go clean that shit up that Hayes was bitching about that Monday. And you told me I've sent him out there 1 or 2, 3 times. That's where you need to buck up and be the supervisor. It's like, Sanford, what the hell? And he wants to throw Dave in the mix there. Oh, let's get Morlan on the phone.
You need to know he'll back you up, and he's
You
telling
don't know
you.
how hard it was so hard for me not to call you.
So maybe in that.
Just because of the whole confrontation, I didn't want to call you. Until I could have this conversation with you to be trusted, I couldn't make that phone call.
Well, we got to get the trust back, but
Absolutely.
You're
that's
100% correct.
whether you hate my guts or not. That you as a supervisor, that's your duty. Okay, Dave, shit, I sent you out there 3 times. What's the shit? You know, why aren't you doing it? You know, do I need to call Morlan? But I did tell you to clean that shit up that Monday. And you said, okay, we'll do it. And then that's the 3rd time when Hayes threw his fit. That's when you said, well, I sent him out there 3 times. I had to send him out there. You shouldn't need to send him out there 3 times. You do it that day I tell you to do it. That's where that one went wrong. No matter what Hayes says.
Okay.
I mean, are we in agreement with that?
Yeah, and I think this trust thing is gonna go a long ways there. So
Absolutely. He can call you if he needs to,
if
and
Sanford's throwing
you're gonna
a fit,
support
he
him.
can call you and go, hey, look, I've sent him out there once, he did a freaking piss poor job again. You're calling me, telling me I'm getting called, go get that fixed.
That's where I need to do my job.
Yeah.
Gang, I think we beat this to death.
I do too.
I do need to run some other stuff by you, and I don't know if Todd needs to be in here. It won't make a decision. You can just go whatever, but shit's moving fast, and I do need to bring this to your attention.
Is this on another issue?
Yeah.
You can hang the phone up there. We're closing this.
So
we're gonna.
Ty, are you being the newcomer, or are you just going, well, gee, I don't know if I want to, are we all on the same page?
No, I'm good. I think I might like tequila more and more. No, it's all good.
So we're gonna close this executive session. It is 6:02.
Are you good, Roy?
Let me
Yeah, I'm good.
Hold on just a second.
Wait,
Let me close
hang
that.
on.
Dave, do you guys feel like that we're in a way better place today than we have been through this whole thing?
Exactly, and that's, I feel good, that's why I had that spiel that I do, we hit the reset button, we all need to do our own jobs.
Roy, how do you feel about that?
I feel a lot better than I did
Okay.
on my way here. I just had to air some stuff out, because I haven't,
Okay, good.
and if I called Dave on the phone,
It doesn't.
aired this out, I didn't want to do that and have a confrontation. I wanted it to be civil. And being right here, it's a civil conversation, I feel better about it.
Okay.
And that's a prime example, Roy, of the chain of command. If you don't feel good, you at least give me the opportunity. Then we go to these guys. That is the chain of command. But on that same note, I mean, you know how I talk. That night, I wasn't talking any more than I normally do, and yes, I'm throwing the F-bomb out there, and so are you. We all do.
Right.
You know, and you probably use it more than I do. How many times have I had to bring you in when you were a meeker of using the F-bomb in McCompany?
A few, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. This is a
You guys need to trust you're not gonna retaliate against each other.
No, and I don't wanna do
But
that.
it's a construction business, and we're,
Yeah, language is not the issue.
well, it was.
It is the issue.
Well-
That's why we're here.
But let's.
Anyway, yes, to
keep
answer
going.
your question, I'm good. Jeffrey, are you good? Me and you need to work on some stuff. If you see I'm an asshole, call it to me. If we're, instead of in a group with attorneys involved and all this bullshit, you call me whatever you want, I'll call you whatever you want. We need to get back to where we were. Agree. And therefore, I love seeing you down there bullshitting the guys. You know, that's when the
So
stuff started.
not turn it into an
stuff.
issue.
Yeah, and I mean, I would love, Ty, when you were the EMS, emergency bearers, or whatever the hell we're called, you popped in all the time too. The guys love that. You know, as a commissioner, I'd like to see, I know you're busy, but I'd like to see you stop in our shop too.
All right, are we ready to call this executive session to a close? All right, it is 6:04, we're gonna end this executive session.
I'll send Boots